Welcome to my sweet life. I'm Amy, and today I'm going to share with you one of my favorite things in the fall, which is a loaf cake. We're going to be playing around with matcha and coconut, and it's super yum, so stay tuned. Welcome back, or welcome if you are brand new. Here on the Sweet Life of Amy channel, I share with you vegan recipes that I test in my own kitchen, and I would not give them to you if I didn't think they were absolutely awesome. So please, at the end of this video, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and without further ado, let's get into this. I'm showing you how to make a matcha and coconut loaf cake. And we're gonna do like a nice glaze on top with some toasted coconut. Super yum. If you don't like matcha, then you can substitute any kind of powder. So like if you have some freeze-dried raspberry powder or strawberry powder, something like that. You can do cocoa. It'll just be a lighter cocoa flavor. It won't be a super chocolatey loaf, but those are some options for you. I do have some Tiki Hut matcha, and this is just young green tea leaves ground down into a powder, and it gives you that really bold, earthy green tea flavor. You either love it or hate it. I just happen to really like it. So I already preheated my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and I've got a little 4" by 8" loaf pan here. This recipe makes one single loaf. You can cut it in half and make a mini loaf, or you can double it and get 2 full loaves, depending on how much you like it. I'm just doing a little bit of shortening in the pan to get it to release when it comes out of the oven. And no fancy equipment. Most of the stuff you probably already have. The only thing would be a scale because everything is in grams, but really easy. I've got a whisk, and my dry ingredients are all gonna go right into this bowl. I'm gonna get started with flour. This is all-purpose flour. And we're doing 2 kinds of sugar. And the reason is that the molasses and brown sugar gives us more moisture. This is what I love about loaf cakes, is they don't have a dense structure, kind of like regular butter type cakes would, or even oil-based cakes. This is a lot more hydrated. Yeah, that's a good term, or hydrated. And so typically loaf cakes don't really need icing. You can put like a nice glaze on it, which I'm gonna show you later, but they're pretty good just on their own, you know, like zucchini loaves or banana loaves. Well, this is a matcha loaf. So in goes the brown sugar, and then I'm using some organic cane sugar as well. Because this is technically a cake, we're going to be using baking powder, and I've got some sea salt in there as well, and my matcha powder. Oh, oh my goodness. All right. We are off to a great start, you guys. Okay. Yep, that just happened. All right, and we're gonna mix this together just with a whisk. Super simple. And then once my dry ingredients are really nice and well mixed, I'm just gonna toss in that coconut, get it mixed through, like so, and it's kind of like a pale green color. It's actually really pretty. And then I already have my wet ingredients measured into the same cup that has a nice little pour spout, so it's easy. But this is just oil, applesauce, and water. What's really great about the oil being in there is it's, again, gonna just keep this cake nice and hydrated. All right, so just whisk that together good, and always tap out your whisk and make sure that there's nothing trapped in the center. I'm gonna make sure all of that stuff gets mixed in, because the dry ingredients kind of like to clump together and hang out there. And this is perfect timing because my oven just clicked, so I know it's preheated. My pan is already ready to go. And that looks good. It's kind of a thicker batter, but it's still pourable. It's gonna go right in. There we go, beautiful. So it fills the pan up about halfway, which is perfect. It's gonna rise up really nice in the oven and give us a nice big crack down the center. I feel like that's the iconic look of a loaf cake. And that's kind of how you can tell when it's done. So we're gonna pop this in the oven. It goes for a little while, but you will know it's done when that big crack forms down the center and the batter that you can see inside that crack looks dry. But it's also good to check with a toothpick or a cake skewer. So I'm gonna pop this into my oven. All right, my loaf came out of the oven. It was in there for about 35 minutes. It got some nice cracks on top, but it looks beautiful and it's totally amazing smelling in my house. But while my oven is still on, I wanna throw in my coconut. So this is just like a half cup of unsweetened flaked coconut. Unsweetened is important because we're putting glaze on top, which is primarily sugar, so we don't want any more sweet. So I'm gonna pop these into my 350-degree oven and go for about 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna check on it. You might need to stir it around just a little bit unless you have enough space on your baking sheet and you can spread it out really nicely. But it doesn't take very long, but you do wanna keep an eye on it if it's not done at that 5-minute mark because it can burn really easily. So my coconut only took a few minutes and it is perfectly evenly toasted. It came out really, really nice. I love it. So once those are nice and baked, you can just go ahead and set them aside, let them cool for like an hour at least, and then we will put together the glaze, which I'm really excited about. That kind of just takes the cake from yum to whoa. So my loaf is nice and cool, and I'm just gonna show you how to whip up a really, really easy loaf glaze. I just have some powdered sugar, and I want to add in some vanilla bean paste. You definitely wanna whisk, so that helps break up all the sugar. And I have some almond milk. You can use whatever type of plant milk that you normally use. And we're going to gradually add this in, and anytime you make a glaze, you need to know what consistency you want the glaze to be and very carefully add in small amounts of liquid, like less than a teaspoon at a time if you need to adjust. This glaze is going on top of the loaf, so we want it to generally be pretty thick, so that it doesn't all run off the sides. That looks pretty good, except I think I added too much milk, which is totally fine because you can just add more sugar if you do that. Couple more tablespoons of sugar. There we go, that is much better. So it's definitely like a slow pour, which is perfect. It's gonna come down off of the loaf, but it's not all gonna run off of the loaf. We're still gonna have a nice coating on there. So set those guys to the side. We wanna get that loaf out of the pan. I like to use an offset spatula because it's not going to damage the protective coating on my pans. It's a really good tip because if you use knives and it damages that coating, they're gonna wear down, they're gonna rust, and things are gonna stick, and you're not gonna have your pans last as long. So this has a nice blunt edge. Just gonna run my spatula along the sides. And it should come right out because there's oil in the loaf. And I'm just gonna go straight onto this pan, making sure that there's no lumps in my glaze. Looks great. And you wanna have your coconut ready to go at this stage as well because this glaze can get a crust on it really fast. So you wanna get that coconut on there pretty quickly. But I just like to pour mine right over the top. We can use our spatula to kind of coax it out to the edges. And I definitely want my glaze to run down the sides of this loaf cake. So I'm using up every last little bit of it. That looks amazing. Okay, and right away we're gonna get that toasted coconut on there. Do as much or as little as you like. I want a nice thick topping because I do love me some toasted coconut. Just give it a little pat to make sure that it's all attached. And voila! That looks so amazing. Okay, so now once you have your glaze on there, you want to let it sit for a couple hours so that glaze can really set up so that when you slice it, you get a nice clean slice. I'm really excited to show you what this looks like. So the glaze is nice and set up, and to cut loaf cakes, I always like to use a nice serrated blade that's gonna give you nice clean cuts. So let's see, let's just take the edge off here. Oh yeah. That's so pretty. Look at the pretty green color. Oh my gosh. I say that like I haven't made this before, but I still get excited every time I bake something. So let's try it. It's truly unique because the cake itself is kind of like crumbly, but still soft and moist. It pulls right apart. It has that nice earthy flavor. And then kind of the floral notes of the coconut. And then you've got that sweet glaze and the toasted coconut on top. It's really something different. Like, I really hope you try this. If you're not familiar with matcha, this is a good recipe to start with. I really think you'll love it. If you want to see more videos like this one, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be notified every time I come out with a new episode. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And if you try this out, do let me know in the comment section what you think. And you can also tag me on Instagram at sweetlifeof_Amy so I can see how your matcha loaf turned out. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. Bye.